welcome to Board.io.
Very much.
Thanks very much for appearing on camera. So please tell me a bit about yourself and what you do.
So my name's James, and I'm a youth worker. Although I don't particularly like that title, so I've renamed myself a digital amplifier. I work for a charity called Dragon Hall, which is London's most central open access community space. And as part of that, I run a youth centre on Old Street called Soapbox, and that's pretty much the first centre of its type, certainly in the UK, potentially globally, that's interested in providing young people with access to non-formal education, so structured learning that takes place outside of the classroom, and digital media and technology, with a focus on enabling young people to address three core areas, which is positive mental health, community cohesion, and employment. And this is all underpinned by what we call humanistic youth work values, which has been part of the digital divide conversation. And that means that, or the focus of that is that everybody has a right to be included, to have a voice, and to make decisions for themselves. So it's kind of using digital media and technology, but in a slightly different way within youth work and the voluntary sector.
Okay, great. So how do you think technology can be used to promote positive education?
Well, I think the first thing, as we kind of talked a little bit about in the panel, one of the key things to focus on is moving the conversation beyond basic digital skills. So there's lots of conversations, there's basic digital skills, kind of, the divide is perceived to be around basic digital skills, so there's like 12.6 million people that don't have access to the internet and things like that. Mm-hmm. This is all well and good, but actually the focus that we have is on specialist and high-level digital skills. So specialist, how do you do what you do, filmmaking, coding, 3D printing, virtual reality, things like that. And then high-level skills, which is those conversations around things like data, delete not meaning delete on the internet, cyber safety online. And what we're finding is that these conversations are not taking place with young people. And we think that they're absolutely crucial, not just now, but also for the future. And I think the proof of the pudding is the numbers of young people that are engaging with digital media and tech from an employment point of view. Careers guidance is a real issue in this area. So these are some of the issues that we're trying to address. And we see this as crucial. And I think that the key thing from our point of view is the voluntary sector is uniquely placed to be able to address this. Formal education is kind of the thing that got us to this point. So we see that that structured learning that takes place outside of the classroom, which is where lots of learning takes place actually, is really crucial. And that's why we kind of been engaged with that over the last 6 or 7 years.
So how do you think technology will develop over the next 10 years, and how can it be used as a force for good?
Moore's law, I can't possibly predict where it's going to go. I think the thing is that genie's out of the bottle. So there was a conversation about in the panel before us about the nature of social media and social networks. The creation, fake news, how algorithms and AI is being used to target things very specifically. I think that there's a huge amount of things you can say are not going to change. The world is what the world is now. As to where it goes going forward, I was a part of the keynote panel for London Tech Week last year, and Matt Hancock gave the initial introduction, and it was pretty clear to me that he was saying that the government's going to put its eggs in the AI basket over the next 30 years. So I think artificial intelligence is clearly going to play an increasing role. And then from our point of view, it's about how do we provide people in particular with access to machine learning so that they can develop the skills that are going to be required. There's lots of talk about AI is about its impact on the sort of the negative impact of it in terms of jobs. It's going to take a lot of work away from traditionally sort of unskilled or sort of manual labour. Part of our responsibility is to make sure that the young people that we work with and beyond are provided with opportunities to develop the skills for the future. And I think that's really the key aspect, and again that's the reason for the focus on the specialist and high level skills, is just being able to use the internet is no longer enough. We have to be taking young people beyond that. So whilst I can't predict necessarily, things like 3D printing are predicted to be one of 12 technologies that transform the world, that might happen within the next 10 years, probably slightly longer, maybe 15 or 20. We will reach a point where 3D printers are ubiquitous as smartphones are. But now is the moment, I think that overall now is the moment to be providing people with access to these skills for these emerging technologies, to make sure that they're in a place in, at whatever point they become sort of mass consumer entities where they're able to engage with them. And I think lots of young people are. I think they're not being provided with, it's one thing to address the skills for right now, but we have to be thinking about the skills for the future, and I don't see our education system as really doing that particularly. So.
Okay, great. And final question, how do you imagine the future of blockchain and cryptocurrency over the next couple of years, if you had to guess?
I guess in a similar way. I think that, these genies, you can't put them back in the bottle. I think that there are all sorts of pitfalls attached to this, but outside of that, there are also huge opportunities.